Well, hey Thomas, thanks for joining us today. Good to see you on camera here. So tell us a little bit about your background and about what you're working on.
Oh man, my backgrounds. Okay, so I started off in the software slash IT world. That's where most of my professional training came from. Pivoted from that into business, marketing, and brand strategy, and that's for the most part where I live now. I'm slowly pivoting into the project we're talking about now, but to make a very, very, very long story super short, that's the gist of it.
Gotcha. So what's the ethos behind the product? What's the name of the project you're working on now, and what's the ethos behind it?
Yeah, so the project is called Shilo, and I would say that it is a response to the reality of social platforms. I think at this point, everybody knows about the pitfalls of social media. I don't want to bore anybody by rehashing what amounts to ancient history at this point. But what I will say is, I think since those platforms are, for the most part, deeply entrenched, they're never going to go anywhere. I think that there should be an alternative that represents the exact opposite of what those platforms have to offer. So I would say that generally speaking, social media is everybody and everything all in one place, all at the same time. And I think that most of the interactions, even though they can provide some value, I think most of them, generally speaking, are superficial for the most part and disposable. I don't necessarily think that's a problem. I'm not making a value judgment. I just think that that's just the nature of the interactions for the most part. And I think since that's the case, what Shilo is meant to do is to give people an alternative that is completely the inverse. So where social is, again, you and everybody else and all this content kind of jammed into one place, Shilo, first and foremost, is dedicated to the individual. There are all kinds of passions, curiosities, and the things that are important to a person. And so Shilo is meant to give you a space to curate and explore those things for yourself first. And then secondarily, you have your friends and family. So I'll give you an example. My sister and I, we have all kinds of inside jokes from our childhood, like references to movies, all kinds of different things. It makes no sense for us to post that on social because it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. It's just the two of us. So we've got a space dedicated to just, stuff like that. I have spaces that are just for myself that I'm never going to share with anybody. And so a person can operate that way if they like. And then the third level is the public. So if you want to create content or just explore content people have made available or you've made available yourself, then you can do that. So I say, generally speaking, the three levels again are the individual, the people who you're really close to that you have a special connection to, and then the wider public. And then at the bottom of it is, I think it's rooted in the idea that if I'm sharing a space with you, that means on some level, I think what's in here is either funny or interesting or valuable, and I want to share it. And outside of that, it really comes down to what an individual person wants to make available to others. So if I share a space with you and then at some point we decide we don't want to share it anymore, we want to kind of part ways, you can easily control who sees what is in your space. And I'd say that to close this off, Shilo is kind of built on like the spectrum of my personality in some ways. So some people are going to be like digital hermits. They're never going to share anything with anybody. It's just going to be for them and all the things they care about. That's perfectly fine. People won't even know you exist. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there are some people who want to share everything with everybody. And if that's who you are, you can do that too. So in the end, basically it's just come as you are, and the space is designed so that you feel comfortable and you don't necessarily have to care what anybody thinks about what you do.
I like that. You touched upon briefly, your personality, and if I had to guess, you see the value in social media and the content on on those platforms, and you enjoy, sharing it with people you like. What's the difference between a space and a just a direct message with somebody? Maybe you could show the
Yeah,
audience
sure. I can
what a space looks like.
give me more a second here. All right. Can you see this okay?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So this is how Shilo looks when you're using it. The home area is dedicated to all of your spaces. So I have quite a few here. I'll give you an example. This is one I made that is dedicated to a sci-fi series I'm working on. So as I have different ideas, I can very easily hop in here and add to it. It's fairly simple for the most part. You can type whatever thoughts come into your head here. You can use this to add different types of content. And then once you're finished with the space, you can save it. In some cases, it'll save automatically. And then at that point, you've got options. So press and hold, and you can share with anyone you have on your friends list. Or what you can do is make it public, which that currently is, or you can get rid of it. So that's the basic gist as far as the individual spaces are concerned. Here you have all the spaces that your friends have made public. So if you don't care about what the public is doing or what random people are doing, and all you care about are what your friends are up to and what they've shared, you can see that stuff here. And then if you want to see what other people have made available, you can come here and then you can see all the content that they've made public. So you've got some interesting things here. This guy has created this space where he just talks about the dreams that he has. Some of these are pretty interesting. And then, okay, he's got an image. That's interesting. I think he made that with, what does he say? Oh, he made it with Dali. So you got that kind of stuff. This person has music performances that they've cataloged that they really like. This one is what looks like film content. That's pretty cool. I like these. So yeah, I'd say that's the basic gist. This is a part of the platform I call High Note, and the idea here is pretty simple. So the way this works is you create a space where you record audio messages, and you can either just create like a repository of, positive messages just for yourself. It could be like affirmations, that kind of thing. And you can share that with your friends. You can go back and forth. Or if you're having a difficult time for some reason, you can record messages and then you can make those public. And then based on the kind of message it is, people will come in and they can leave you messages that are uplifting or encouraging. So that's the idea behind this.
And
I'm sorry?
you and your sister have a collaborative space where you can both share content with each other?
Yeah. So let's see. In this version, so there's two. So this one, we just have like random videos from YouTube and other places. This other one is, like reading. So different passages from books, quotes, that kind of thing. As far as the content goes, there really isn't much of a limit for the most part. You can use links from other sites. You can add audio messages inside of the general spaces. You can add links. We are going to right now we're working on adding an AI feature that is similar to what you see in ChatGPT and some of the other LLM products where you can, well, here's a good example. So if somebody gave you a recipe that's in one language, for example, you can translate it to a different language. You can basically, you can use all the same queries you can use in traditional AI apps. That'll be hopefully done by the end of Q1 next year.
Very cool.
Yep. And this last area is basically reserved for feedback. If people think a particular feature sucks, or if they think it's interesting or fun, or whatever they have to say, you can pop in here, and that's where all that stuff is going to be.
Awesome.
And my friend is the long and short of it.
Well, thanks for sharing. And so users can go to the App Store, search Shilo. How do you spell Shilo?
Shilo is spelled Shilo.
Okay. And download the app today. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you've got, in terms of the roadmap, the future, you're integrating AI, you're integrating a chatbot. Are there any other features that you're excited about or that you are even willing to talk about?
So I think that the biggest thing that I am excited about, and I haven't quite pulled this out of my brain and pulled this into the real world yet, but one of the things that I don't like about social, for sure, is the value exchange. So every single action you take on a social platform makes it more valuable, just inherently. And the exchange is you post content or you respond to content that pumps up the value of the platform, which is billions of dollars. And the question is, okay, what do you get as the person or as the people who have made this platform this valuable? A few laughs? I don't think that's I don't think that's an even exchange. A few laughs here and there, or in some cases where when the content actually is meaningful, you get, a good emotional response out of it. But when you compare that with the power and the monetary value that the other party is getting, it's just not even close. So I'm exploring a model where all of the users are able to basically profit share from the value generated from the platform. I think that moving forward, the only way that any kind of a quote unquote, and I don't think Shilo really is a social platform. I don't think that's the category. I think I would say that I would call it a personal media ecosystem. It's just because it's about the individual first and foremost. And I think that if this kind of alternative is going to survive or even be viable in the future, everybody who uses it, they have to be included in the actual value exchanges instead of the emotional one.
Gotcha. So the goal is for the users to share the profits with yourself and other folks that are involved in the business.
Yeah, that's the plan. There are a ton of legal and other aspects of that needs to be hashed out, but that is my ultimate goal. I think that if I'm going to live up to what I am saying the ethos of the platform comes from, I think that has to be built into it.
That sounds awesome for the users. Is the primary method of monetization, do you foresee as advertisements?
No, definitely not. So there's going to be a free period so that people can test it out and decide whether or not it's worth their time and attention. Then it's going to be basically a subscription. It's a traditional tier subscription model. So there'll be a minimum subscription base, and then I think just one tier above that. Once the platform scales to the point where it makes sense to have the advertiser conversation, then I think that's worth discussing. And then at that point, since presumably the value would be substantial, then I think there'd be a lot of opportunity for the users. The other thing I wanted to point out is that we're also going to be creating functionality where if different users who are, I guess, what I would call creators, if they want to monetize their spaces or create those kinds of opportunities, we'll facilitate that. That's not really the focus of the platform, but my personal philosophy is that if you're not breaking the law and you're not being an asshole, you should be able to do pretty much whatever you like. So if that's what you want to create a space for, we're not going to stand in the way. We'll facilitate that and make it happen. But I just want to make sure that we keep the heart of the platform intact. I think when I think back, because I mean, I'm just old enough to remember what life was like before the internet took the particular shape that it's taken now, and also what a lot of these platforms were like before they became professionalized. So I remember YouTube when it first came on the scene. It was just regular people doing all kinds of random, sometimes weird, sometimes cool stuff. And then once it became clear that it was going to be a revenue generator, it changed substantially. I don't mean to say that the changes were all bad, but the heart of the platform certainly changed once you introduced those other elements. So I'm trying to keep that change in mind as we navigate this. But again, I don't want to unnecessarily limit people.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it's exciting for a user to say, hey, if I start using this platform, I can actually get paid to use it in a way. When do you expect that feature to roll out?
So again, end of Q1 next year is the plan. I got quite a few hurdles.
Around March, April 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. By that point, it'll be very clear if this is going to be viable or not. My hunch tells me that it will be. It's just that, like with anything in life, there will be all kinds of twists and turns that you don't anticipate, and that you'll have to deal with. And I'm hurt by that. I mean, the fact of the matter is, while it's important that the platform creates value, I don't need to get rich from this. That's not what this is for. I don't have any needs on that particular front. The most important thing for me, again, is that people have a viable alternative to social that inverts everything about the social relationship to its users. That's the most important thing for me. And I think that's what this is.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to share with potential users?
No, I think we've covered it. I guess the one thing I want to be sure that people understand is, obviously it's important to protect people from, horrible, abusive behavior. That's just not tolerable. But at the same time, it's also important that you are strong enough to withstand people who just challenge your point of view, or just challenge what you think. I think that's just a natural part of being an adult. So the platform does take those kinds of measures, but you're not going to be protected from somebody just simply disagreeing with you or critiquing what you do. That's not what this is.
And you don't,
so again, like I said,
share your space with anybody if you don't want to. So if you decide to share your space out to the public and you get criticism, the point you're trying to make is that you've got to be able to stand up to that.
Yeah. In the end, all the interactions are entirely up to you. So if you just want you, yourself, and I to be a part of the space, feel free. But again, to your point, understand, and I think at this point, I don't think anybody's naive enough to expect publicly available content to not be scrutinized in some way. I think that is going to be the territory. But having said that, the nature of the abuse and the nature of the trolling that you see on social platforms, as far as I can help it, is not going to be present in Shilo. in my experience, people don't tend to pay to be assholes. And if they do, they'll be kicked out and we'll give them their money back.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, thanks, Thomas, for joining us. Once again, you can find Shilo on the App Store, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Erik.